Views expressed by CamaPlan podcast guests may not reflect those of CamaPlan. CamaPlan does not guarantee the accuracy of information provided by guests, nor does it endorse or recommend any individual or organization. CamaPlan is not an investment advisor, CPA, realtor, or attorney. You are encouraged to conduct your own due diligence before making investment choices. For any tax, legal, accounting, investment, or other questions, please consult a specialist. Hi, I'm Michael Duncan, and welcome back to The Road to Financial Freedom. This podcast is brought to you by CamaPlan, a self-directed IRA administrator focused on educating investors on how to grow retirement savings faster through alternative investments. In each episode, we're going to take an in-depth look at many of the roads taken to financial freedom and how they differ for each of our guests. Our goal is to help the listeners learn how they can achieve their own financial freedom through the experience and stories of experts that have done just that. Today's guest is a mortgage note investor and president of the Pure Harbor Groups, a private equity firm that specializes in the acquisition and disposition of distressed mortgage notes. I am very excited to welcome Tanya Brown to the show today. Tanya, how are you doing?
I am excellent, Michael. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this since you scheduled it. I thought what you did was really interesting, or what you do is really interesting, and it's very clear that I'm going to learn a lot today, so I'm excited.
Awesome. It is. It's really exciting. And it's really my niche in real estate investing. And so I'm glad and happy to share it with everybody.
So that's a great way to start, actually. Is you mentioned your niche a few times as we were emailing and getting information about you and stuff like that. What led you to this? How did you find this niche?
Great question. I started off doing the regular things in real estate investing. So I had a couple of buy and holds, and I tell everybody the same story. I did it wrong because I had my family members in there, and they say you never rent to your family members, but I did, and I tried it anyway. I didn't know any better at the time, but I had a couple of buy and holds, and then I kind of wanted to do a little bit more. I started attending meetings, these RIA meetings and meetups and so forth. And everyone was saying the exact same thing. You need to get into wholesaling. You have to go buy and holds. You have to do fix and flips. And those are like the three main things of real estate investing. Then you can move over into syndications, buying apartment buildings and all of those things. But I was like, it wasn't my niche, none of those things. I mean, I'm not perfect at being a landlord. Fix and flips, they're my thing. I like to fund them, but that's about it. I don't want to deal with contractors. And then wholesaling is a lot of work. My hat goes off to anyone who is wholesaling. And so I moved over into tax liens. I started looking into tax liens. I said that could be, good passive income.
So,
and then when
sorry,
I came,
what is a tax lien exactly?
So a tax lien is when you go into tax sales or you buy properties at tax sales. So if in Maryland, we have tax certificates because it's a tax lien state. And so you would purchase, if someone defaults on their taxes, then you go in and you purchase the tax certificate or the tax lien with the expectation of them paying you back with interest. And if they don't pay you back, then you get the property back. And so I looked into that. And as I was looking into it, I came across something called note investing. And I was like, what is this note investing stuff all about? And I started looking into it and I was like, no way. Individual people can own other people's mortgages and get the payments from them. I was like, this doesn't really make sense. It's not real because it's never been told. Nobody talks about it. And so I delved deeper into it. And then I found out a couple of the gurus in the space. I took training on it. I found a mentor. And then I kind of moved into the overall space. And when I say it's my niche, it's what I absolutely like doing. It wasn't the wholesaling. It wasn't the buy and holds. It wasn't the fix and flips. It was doing these doing this mortgage note investing. It's dealing with the borrowers. And really, I'll get more into that. You don't deal directly with the borrowers, but it's working out the loans, or if they're loans that are currently performing, it's just having those loans and sitting them as true passive income in your retirement account or in your investment account. So I say I found my niche because I love getting up every morning and doing it.
So what is it about it that you love? Like, what makes it so different?
Yeah, what makes it different is that there are people behind every one of these notes, and every person has a different story. Every story is something that you can help someone with in some cases. And so it could be that the loan was delinquent. So the borrower had an incident. They could have been performing for the past 10 years and doing well. They pay their mortgage on time. They were great. And then all of a sudden, something happened. And you're looking at the big banks and they're seeing you 30 days late, 60 days late, you're 90 days late. We need to go into foreclosure. They foreclose on you, right? But as the individual note investor or the individual bank, you get to go in and say, okay, what happened? I mean, for 10 years, you were just performing well and paying your mortgage. And then the last 3 months, something happened. What happened? And they could say, I was stringing Christmas lights, or I'm a roofer and I forgot to harness myself and I fell off the roof. I broke my back. I'm the sole breadwinner for my family. And that's what happened. But I can catch up now. And so we can actually work with them to help them catch up. So instead of seeing them as a number, we see them as people who just had a situation. And being the individual bank and not the big bank, we can go in and solve those issues and help people stay in their homes.
That's incredible. So honest to God, I didn't know a lot about note investing as I was kind of doing some research and trying to understand what it was. I got a general idea of, I guess, the place that it holds within, this whole real estate investing scene, I guess you could say. But I definitely did not see an explanation like that. And that's really awesome. I can definitely understand why that would speak to you. Yeah.
Indeed. And yeah, we often get times where people will say, oh, you're just getting people out of their houses and you're just trying to take their houses. And no, I tell people, if you want to get into this area of investing, you can't want it for the property, because there are people who are fix and flippers or people who just want to, own a house or own a property. And they'll come to me and say, hey, the market's tight. There's a lot of competition out there. I want to own these notes so I can get the property back. And it's like, no, you can't do that. That cannot be your sole purpose, because you never know what's going to happen with these notes. Anything could happen. I mean, you might think it's a non-performing note, which means that the borrower has defaulted, and that's absolutely fine, but they could automatically reperform, or something else could happen. They could claim bankruptcy and you're in it for 2 to 3 years. Who knows what could happen? But you can't go into note investing with the sole purpose of wanting the property back. You have to go in there wanting to help the people if you can.
That's incredible. Wow, that honestly, that threw me for a loop. That's a really awesome story. It's a much more human side to a lot of this. I feel like a lot of time, like kind of like you said, like it's being a landlord can be tough, and especially when you're getting into those larger apartment complexes and stuff like that. Like you do, and to make large amounts of money, a lot of the time you're owning a lot of properties. It is still passive income. You're doing your best to view the people that live there as numbers. And this is really interesting because it truly is just, you know, kind of getting a story behind every purchase that you make. And it sounds like you're saying like you can't get in this to want to own the property. It sounds like you don't even do this for the property. You're doing this with the sole goal of helping these people out, really.
Indeed, yes, because I don't want to take the property back, to be honest with you. I want the lien or the loan to reperform so that I can continue to collect payments, because it actually costs more money for me to get the property back, because I'll have to go through the foreclosure process. So I might spend $5,000 more than I expected to spend. Now, granted, I buffer that into my whole expense sheet, especially when I'm purchasing a non-performing note. However, I don't want to go through that route and take the property back, because once I go through, I have to spend $10,000 on a lawyer. I then have to put the property back on the market, try to put somebody else in there. It's a whole process. Not that I mind the process, it's okay. But when I can keep someone in their house and allow them to find a way to, become homeowners or keep their home, that's the main goal.
That's and a great goal it is. And so I guess to go along with something that you mentioned, which is also something I saw on your website and in a few of our emails, and that's the idea of being the bank.
Yes.
I think that really hit home for me and hit home for, what we're trying to do here at the Road to Financial Freedom. Like the idea of financial freedom is not having to depend on, others for money and that kind of stuff and the way that you want to live your life. And it sounds like being the bank is kind of right up the alley of that. So I guess kind of how did you come up with that phrase, and why does that speak to you especially?
That's actually the way I was introduced to note investing. They say it's you becoming the bank. And I said the same thing. I was like, how does that work? Well, just like you go to the bank, to Bank of America or Wells Fargo to get your loan for your house, a 30-year fixed. It's the same exact thing when you buy those mortgages from the bank. You're now becoming the bank. So you're not becoming the landlord, and you're not becoming, the renter, you're becoming the bank. You are the owner of that debt and that loan. So once you become the owner of that debt and that loan, you have to operate at that space. You have to act like it. You can't go into someone's house and say, okay, I want your house because I
Yeah.
now own your note. Well, no, it's bound by a contract, and that you have to honor that contract as long as the borrower is honoring that contract. So you actually become the bank owning other people's mortgages. And the more, I would say it like, the more that you have individuals and communities buying up these notes and helping out more people and helping people become homeowners, that takes that. And it's nothing wrong with the big banks. It takes that ownership away from the big banks and brings it locally into communities. And so that way we're kind of helping one another. Because even some of the notes, if I were to show you some of the notes that I own, you would look at them and say, oh my gosh, who's living there? Right. But it may not be in a community that you live in, and it may not be in a house that you would live in. However, there are people who come from different walks of life, and to own that property when they become the first homeowners in their generation or in their family's life, because they've been renting or they may have come from the projects, and now they had the opportunity to become a homeowner because you were able to present that opportunity to them. It makes a world of difference because that's their first stepping stone to home ownership. They're not going to stay there. They may move on, but that's their first stepping stone, and then they can move on. But you provided that opportunity. So that's the benefit of actually being the bank, the individual bank, and not the big bank.
That's incredible. And it reminds me a lot of, just I feel like this general conversation has been floating around the public a lot in the past year or so. But the idea of privilege and kind of just forgetting, not holding the same appreciation for certain things as others
Hmm.
might. Like, um, I was a first generation college student in my family.
Awesome.
And that's something that, because I know kind of how my parents didn't do that or didn't get there exactly, I had a different appreciation for what it meant to go to it. And even that, it's like, it's not that my parents necessarily couldn't, they sort of chose not
Right.
to, other things. And even I don't necessarily have the same appreciation that someone that is, a first generation of graduating high school, let alone going to
Hmm.
college. And like those people exist everywhere. And it truly is just a life changing thing where it's like, you're right. Maybe that's not the house that I would buy, but we
Right.
come from different walks of life. We come from different histories and different pasts. And um, yeah, that's awesome. That's just really incredible. That whole idea and the way that you approach it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the benefit of it. And that's why I say I love this, because
Yeah.
it's providing opportunity. And when you can provide an opportunity and make a difference, isn't that what we're here for? That's the whole benefit of being in, not just, I mean, yes, real estate investing, you're in it to make money.
Yeah.
But what good is making the money if you're not making a difference?
I- Yeah, I'm not sure everyone would agree with you, but I agree
That's,
with you. Um,
that's true.
but no, I mean, I agree. Like, I think you've made it very clear that if you were in it for the money, there's about a billion other things that you could be doing in this
Exactly.
general walk. Um, but so that brings me to, I guess, kind of my next general topic or my next question, and that is, this has led you to financial freedom.
Mhm.
What does a day look like when you're doing this as your quote unquote full time job?
It's looking like 4 and 5 hour work days as opposed to 8 hour work days sitting in front of a computer. It looks like I'm able to travel when I want to travel. I can do things that I want to do. I say it like I can do what I want, when I want, how I want it, anytime I want to do it. So that is the freedom that I was looking for, and this was able to provide it.
What made you look for that freedom here?
I think I was looking, I think it just, I don't want to say fell into it. I was looking for that passive income. And as I stated earlier, I started on that path of rental
Real estate.
properties and wholesale. Yeah. So I knew it was in real estate, but I wasn't sure where in real estate. And then I just started reading more and reading more. And then when I found this is where I said, yes, this is where I want to land. And if this can provide me the same passive income that I can get from owning 300 doors, then I'm in.
That makes a lot of sense. That's
Hmm.
very good mindset. And now you are the president of the Pure Harbors Group.
I am.
So what is that? What do you guys do?
So we're a private equity firm and we work with investors to help them gain and build wealth through mortgage note investing. So if you are someone who is looking to put a few hundred more dollars a month into their pocket, or if you're just looking to build up your retirement fund or your child's education fund, we work with those individuals to help them reach their goal. We also do, I call it the DIY investors. Those are people like me they've probably been in real estate investing for a minute, but they just want to learn note investing. We also have an educational component in which we actually teach people how to do note investing for themselves. So we work with the individual investor to help them meet their goal and put these notes in their portfolios. And then we have this educational component in which we work with people to teach them and help get them on their way so that they can learn and do note investing for themselves.
So you almost beat me to it a little bit. Is that where the DMV Note Network comes into play?
Yes, the DMV Network is a meetup group, and we've actually collaborated with the Maryland Mortgage Note Investing Meetup. And it's for anybody. It's the DMV is for DC, Maryland, and Virginia, but it's not just for that area. It's for anybody because it is an online meetup group, and we just discuss everything notes. We try to at any experience level can come and join, whether you've gotten into it, whether you haven't, whether you have multiple notes or you don't have any. We invite everybody to come and we just discuss all topics and try to help people understand what note investing is and how they can benefit. And also it's a great place to exchange resources. We do our best to do deals in that group. If someone has a challenge or an issue or they need a resource in another state, we share resources. It's just a way of getting this small niche community of note investors together and to kind of spread the word and help people out.
Okay, that makes a ton of sense, and especially do the other people there, and maybe this isn't a fair question necessarily, but do the other people there have that same passion and the reasoning for doing this that you do? Like, are they all very like-minded?
Some of them are, yes. Some of them are very inquisitive. They're just getting started and they just want to know what it's about. So they're just trying to figure out, is this something for them? And then you have people who are there where they're just looking for 3 and 4 notes. How do I work them out, get them in my portfolio, make another $1,000 a month? And then that's all I need to know. Because I just want to sit there and perform. And then there are people who have gone into this and made it a business. And so we have about 3 or 4 people in our group that have done and made this a business and kind of had the same mindset.
So when you say, people just want to get into it, it's 3 or 4 notes. How many notes do you have? Am I allowed to ask that?
You can ask, yes, it ebbs and flows. So at any good time, I might have 25 to 30 notes going at a
Wow, of
time. Yeah. So it just is, I'm selling off some, I'm buying them. And so
course.
but in my personal portfolio, anytime about 25 to 30 notes.
That's crazy. And that's your job. That is the way that
That's,
you make a living for the most
that's
part.
the way. Yes. Yes. Now I have some other projects going on, but yes, that's my base.
That's incredible. So okay, so I reach out to you, whether
Hmm.
it's through the Peer Harbor groups, or the DMV Note Network. I'm in my mid-20s. I have a decent, 9 to 5 job. What is my first step? Like, what is the advice you would give me?
It would depend on what you're looking to do. So I would ask you first, what are your goals? What are you looking to do? So if your goal is to just build extra income, then we can take one path. If your goal is to actually learn note investing and sort of build this out yourself, it doesn't necessarily have to be a business, but it's something that you want to do for yourself. Then my first thing is let's get educated because you can get into a lot of trouble doing this.
I
And
believe
it's
that.
not like, yeah, it's not like when I did fix and flips, I read a book, I did some YouTube videos and I was good. I could flip a house. I did well. And when I was doing wholesaling, I did take a training, but I was like, okay, I understand wholesaling. But then when I learned note investing, I was like, oh no, I could get into some serious trouble here if I don't know what I'm doing. So that's the first thing I always try to tell people is educate yourself if you want to do this on your own. Then the next step is we'll work together in partnership in order to get you into your first note and then lead you into multiple other notes. If you're just looking to, have some extra income, you're saying, Tanya, I don't need to know the whole ins and outs of buying my own notes and all of that. Then we can talk and discuss your goals, and then we'll work, see what you're looking to do, what returns you're looking for, and then what we will do is just work together and get a plan in place and work toward getting you some notes into a portfolio that's going to help meet your goals.
And so that's like the main thing that the Peer Harbor groups does is they
Correct.
help people like decide what path they want to take. And then obviously once that decision is made,
Correct.
you can help. Like, I'm not going to be running around on the sidewalk in the middle of Philadelphia screaming, someone give me their note. Like, you're going to help me locate notes that I could buy.
Yes, I will do the screaming.
That's good.
I will
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like that wouldn't end well for me. All things considered, if I tried that. Maybe it would, but I don't have the highest of hopes there.
So yes, we would do the sourcing, we would do the evaluating, we would present inventory to you and say that, this is the perfect note for you. It'll help meet your goals, and this would be your return, and this is how we would work it out. And so we would go through the whole process. Go ahead.
Is this something that a lot of people use to build retirement accounts?
I wouldn't say no. And the reason I say no is because a lot of people don't know about it. It's foreign to a lot of people, even people who've been doing real estate for 20 or 30 years. The most people know about note investing is maybe they have a rental property that they're really ready to sell off, and they may sell it off and carry back the note. In that case, the former landlord now owns the note. So they are the note holder, and that is considered note investing. So they own the note. But that's mainly what people think of. They don't think about it in terms of buying them from the bank or buying them from hedge funds or brokers and buying them in tranches of, 100, 200, or even as small as 10, 20, 30. They don't think of it that way. They just think of it on the smaller scale. So I would say a lot of people do not. But as far as mortgages are concerned, I would say a lot of people do have them in their portfolios. If they have IRAs or if they're working W-2s and they have their funds through their pensions funds, they're more than likely holding mortgages because the banks will sell them off. They bundle them, they sell them off, and these hedge funds buy them. And then from your 401k, they invest in these hedge funds, or they'll invest in them. So they're technically investing in mortgages. They just don't know it.
Yeah. Well, so that's what CamaPlan does. I mean, primarily is help people, take the funds that are in their IRAs, the 401ks, and invest them. And, it's a self-directed IRA.
Exactly.
So that's interesting that it sounds like, people are unknowingly kind of already doing that.
They are. Yes.
That's funny. That's interesting. Except they're probably not getting the benefits that
they are not.
or yeah, if I was doing it myself.
Exactly.
So that's very interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that. And okay, so one more thing that I wanted to talk about before we kind of get on our way out is beekeeping. I did see that you are a beekeeper.
I am.
What sparked that? I just thought this was really interesting.
Actually,
how did that come about?
I joined a program called the Executive Master Gardener Program, and it's through any extension program, any state extension program. And I joined it, and they had bees. And so I took an interest because I thought it was strange that they were keeping bees. And so I took an interest, and they showed me everything. And so I said, well, I'll try it at home since I learned that you can be a backyard beekeeper. So I actually took another course at the local, it's not an arboretum, but it's like a garden center, not too far from me. And they taught me how to do basic beekeeping. And I said, okay. So I just started, and the rest is history. I've been doing it for about 7 years now. And it's wonderful. The only thing is I've had about 3 hives in my backyard, and I try not to go beyond 3 hives because my neighbors, and they already know I have bees, but I try to make sure they get honey also during each harvest.
That's nice of you.
Yeah. And so, but other than that, it's pretty much just they take care of themselves. You don't have to do too much, and you just watch them, but they're fascinating insects, absolutely fascinating.
For some reason, and this is not fair to beekeepers in general. Whenever I think of the idea of beekeeping, I don't know if you've ever watched How I Met Your Mother, but I always think of a later episode where one of the main characters' fathers just buys a ton of bees and starts keeping them in his basement without telling anyone.
Oh.
And then they have a house party, and the bees get out, and chaos ensues, as it would on any sitcom.
Why would he keep them in his basement?
He's a bit of a mess of a human being. He makes board games for a living.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was more entertaining. Exactly. It's definitely a good writing for a sitcom rather than, being a normal beekeeper probably would be. So, all right. Last question. Then I'm going to let you plug, tell everyone where they can find you, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But I want to know, and I'm going to ask everyone that's on this podcast this, what does financial freedom mean to you?
Financial freedom means the time and availability to do what I want to do. And that's spending time with my family. It is traveling, and it's volunteering and helping other people. And that's what financial freedom is, without being tied to the W-2, without being tied to the 40-hour work week and the 80-hour pay period, without asking permission to use leave that I earned to do what it is I want to do, without, having to take leave to do something at 2:00 or 3:00 because I'm working. So financial freedom is the ability to do what I want, when I want, how I want, and allowing it to benefit other people.
And how does it feel now that you have seemingly reached your goal of financial freedom?
It feels great because it was a goal that I was trying to attain. And now it's like, what's the next level?
Yeah.
So now that I have it, it's almost like I've got more time, because before, when I was working my W-2 as well as trying to work the business, it was, there's not enough time in the day. Now you don't have the 8 hours a day. You're finding out you have a 4-hour work week. And I'm like, well, what's next? Let's do more.
Yeah.
And so it's what is the next level? So I'm always aiming for what's the next level, and how are we preparing for that next level?
Well, that's incredible. That's very well said. I couldn't agree with you more. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I feel like I might get fired if I say that. I agree.
No, that's
with all
okay.
that.
I'll pick it for you to come back.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'm just kidding. I don't think my company will fire me. Don't take that seriously. And if you're listening, company, it was a joke. Anyway, need to watch that. But where can our listeners find you? Where can they reach out to you if they're intrigued by any of the things they hear today, whether it be the beekeeping or the note investing?
Definitely. They can reach me at they can reach me at info@pierharbor.com. That's P as in Paul, IER, HARBOR, just like the inner harbor. So it's info@pierharbor.com. You can go to my website at pierharbor.com and schedule a time to meet or schedule a meeting. Or you can reach me at 877-620-1386. That's 877-620-1386. I'd also like to say that for those who are interested in the training program, there is a free webinar on the website for you to watch. It's about 1 hour, but it takes you through everything that you will learn and how you will gain the experience in order to go out here and become a note investor on your own.
That sounds like a good deal.
Please join the meetup. You can always join the meetup. It's free. Come on out and learn some note investing info.
And you said that was online as well, not just in person.
That is online. Yes, so that is online.
I don't have to live in the DMV area.
You do not have to live in the DMV area. We have people from all over. I just wanted to kind of take that niche and use it, because there are other note investing meetups out there.
Awesome. Well, Tanya, thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. I loved having you on. I loved talking to you and having all these conversations. And I know my listeners are going to love it too. So once again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. This was fun. I appreciate you.
I'm glad you had fun. So did I. Well, on behalf of me, on behalf of Tanya, and on behalf of CamaPlan, thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful day.